Pope Leo XIV, born Robert Francis Prevost in Chicago on September 14, 1955, is the first American pope and the first member of the Order of St. Augustine, OSA, to ascend to the papacy. His journey from a quiet upbringing in the United States to a life dedicated to service in Peru has profoundly shaped his approach to leadership within the Catholic Church. Raised in a family deeply involved in the Catholic faith, with a librarian mother and a military veteran father, Prevost developed a strong sense of discipline and service. He entered the Augustinian order in 1977 and was ordained a priest in 1982. In 1985, he began his missionary work in Peru, where he spent over 2 decades serving in the Diocese of Chulucanas and later as Bishop of Chiclayo. His time in Peru immersed him in the challenges faced by the poor and marginalized, fostering a deep commitment to social justice and pastoral care. Unlike many of his predecessors, Pope Leo XIV was not a Vatican insider before his election. He was appointed cardinal in 2023 by Pope Francis and served as the prefect of the dicastery for bishops. His election as pope on May 8, 2025 marked a significant departure from the traditional profiles of papal candidates. Known for his humility, Pope Leo XIV prefers simplicity in his lifestyle and leadership style. He emphasizes listening and collaboration, aiming to lead a church that is inclusive and attentive to the needs of all its members, central to Pope Leo XIV's vision is the concept of synodality, leading the church through shared discernment and collective decision-making. He advocates for a church that listens, builds bridges, and engages in dialogue, reflecting his experiences in diverse cultural contexts. His papacy continues the emphasis on social justice, environmental stewardship, and the preferential option for the poor, themes championed by his predecessor, Pope Francis. Pope Leo XIV's commitment to these issues underscores his dedication to a church that serves the marginalized and upholds the dignity of every person. Pope Leo XIV's leadership is characterized by a deep-rooted spirituality and a commitment to serving others. His background as a missionary and his experiences in Peru have profoundly influenced his approach to the papacy. He continues to embody the values of humility, service, and pastoral care, striving to lead a church that is compassionate, inclusive, and attentive to the needs of all its members. As the Catholic Church navigates the complexities of the modern world, Pope Leo XIV's papacy offers a model of leadership that prioritizes listening, collaboration, and a deep commitment to social justice. His journey from a quiet upbringing in Chicago to a life dedicated to service in Peru reflects a profound dedication to living out the gospel message in all aspects of life. Before Rome, before the spotlight, he spent decades in Peru, not as a visitor, but as a missionary. He served in remote villages, learned local dialects, and brought the sacraments to those who had never even met a bishop. Robert Prevost was born in Chicago. His mother, Mildred Martinez, was a librarian and woman of deep faith. She filled their home with books and reverence for silence. His father, a military veteran, taught him discipline and duty. These early lessons shaped a quiet strength that defines him today. From Peru to the papacy, Leo XIV has embraced simplicity. He avoids luxury, lives humbly, and travels without fanfare. To him, simplicity isn't a lifestyle. It's a path to Christ. Yes, Pope Leo XIV is the first pope born in the United States. Though his ministry flourished abroad, his American roots give him a unique global outlook, one that challenges both Western access and affirms its openness. He is known for his deep listening. In meetings, he rarely speaks first. In Peru, he spent hours just hearing people's stories. Today, as Pope, he believes the Church must listen, especially to the wounded, the poor, the rejected. Before his election, he wasn't part of the Roman Curia or Vatican power circles. Many in Rome didn't even know his name. That independence makes his papacy refreshingly free from politics. At the center of Pope Leo's spirituality is the Eucharist. He promotes adoration, reverence, and Eucharistic renewal, especially in forgotten communities, where faith burns bright despite scarce resources. Missionaries rarely become popes, but Pope Leo's missionary background gives him an edge. He knows what it's like to preach in fragile communities, to baptize in rivers, and celebrate Mass under open skies. Many expected him to pick a missionary name. Instead, he chose Leo, after Pope Leo the Great, a defender of doctrine and unity in times of crisis. It was a signal. He intends to teach and shepherd, not just serve. In Peru, he worked closely with indigenous peoples, honoring their customs, protecting their lands, and advocating for their dignity. As Pope, he continues to elevate their voices in the Church. He's not a dramatic headline maker, but he's quietly reshaping church governance, pushing for accountability, transparency, and reform rooted in listening, prayer, and integrity. Pope Leo XIV champions synodality, walking together as a church. He believes true leadership involves collaboration, prayerful discernment, and deep listening among bishops, priests, and lay people alike. He believes the gospel is clearest when lived alongside the poor. In Peru, he brought the sacraments to remote places. As Pope, he calls for economic justice and a church with a preferential option for the poor. Following Pope Francis's ecological legacy, Leo XIV views care for the earth as a moral obligation. He's seen firsthand how environmental harm impacts the poor and calls Catholics to act. Those who meet him say the same. He is humble, he remembers names, eats with staff, and rejects pomp. His humility isn't staged, it's how he lives day in and day out. Even as Pope, he remains a learner. He reads widely, asks questions, and seeks counsel. He believes leadership isn't about having all the answers, it's about finding them together. He doesn't chase political fights. His reforms are pastoral, not ideological. He believes true change begins in the heart, not in confrontation, but in compassion. As a former seminary rector, he places great emphasis on forming priests with empathy, depth, and integrity. He believes the future of the Church depends on the holiness of its shepherds. Pope Leo XIV strives to build unity across theological, cultural, and political lines. He listens to differing voices, not to agree with all, but to keep the family of the Church together. He doesn't try to dominate the stage, he tries to be present, to God, to others, and to the moment. His is a papacy not of power, but of presence. And in that presence, many are finding hope. Pope Leo XIV consistently uses his platform to highlight voices that are too often overlooked. Refugees, migrants, abused children, survivors of clerical abuse, and the spiritually abandoned. He believes that the Church must not only speak to these people, but with them. His speeches are not performances. They are pleadings, calls for justice, healing, and mercy. For him, the credibility of the Church depends on its ability to stand alongside the wounded, even when it is uncomfortable. In a world saturated with noise, Pope Leo XIV is a man of profound silence. He spends long hours in prayer before the Blessed Sacrament. He often pauses before speaking. His staff say some of his most powerful leadership moments happen not in speeches but in quiet reflection. He believes silence is not emptiness but space for God to speak. In this stillness he finds clarity, strength, and communion with Christ. Though Pope Leo XIV came from the margins, he does not see himself as a regional pope. He is deeply engaged with issues facing the global Church, from conflicts in Africa to secularism in Europe, from vocations in Asia to disillusionment in North America. What makes him different is that he approaches these issues not from the top down but from the bottom up. He listens, he learns, he leads with humility. His global vision is grounded in personal encounter. Ultimately, Pope Leo XIV's impact may not be measured in headlines or dramatic changes, but in presence. The kind of presence that kneels beside the sick, walks with the poor, and prays in silence when words fall short. His is a papacy rooted not in performance but in fidelity. In a time when many institutions are losing trust, he offers something rare, a witness,